Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of the Scratch the Track podcast presented by the Dude and Grim Show and co-produced by Mr. IVEST. I'm the Dude.
I'm Grim. And today we are going to talk about, I wish I could hold it up, but I don't have it. However, I think I'm going to be getting it though. After giving it a good list. DeStijl. DeStijl by the White Stripes. Their second installment. The album that almost never was, the band that almost that almost never was after that point. They were almost a one album wonder.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, it's such an interesting story. A lot has been sort of talked about and said about their marriage, and there was, especially before this whole internet thing took off. People didn't really know, because he would refer to her as, oh, my sister and this and this and this, right? And so people didn't really know if they were together or not together. But essentially, they divorced in 2000, and Jack White kind of assumed that, well, okay, that's the end of the band. And then they were scheduled to play a show, and Meg was like, no, let's play the show, and I think we should continue as the White Stripes. I don't know a lot of people who end relationships and would continue something like this.
I think it happened in Fleetwood Mac, at least for a while.
Well, and that's actually what I kind of want to talk about a little bit too, is what other bands have weird sort of breakup stories, almost breakup stories, because there's a lot of musicians and people, like we talked about Pete Best with the Beatles, Chad Channing or Nirvana, people who left the band before the band actually made it or blew up, right? And so it's just interesting. I'm just, like the Fleetwood Mac one you talked about, but it's sort of an interesting thing that, man, some people really got to be kicking themselves, right?
Well, yeah. And for them, for that example, that wasn't so much about people leaving the band as much as it was about these difficult interpersonal romantic relationships within a band. And it's is it going to destroy it?
Right. I think the Mamas and Papas had some of those issues too, right?
Oh, you could do a whole episode on what a weirdo Papa John Phillips turned into. Holy shit.
But yeah, dude, I'd never really heard a story like this where you have, not only is it just a couple members, it's the two members in the band.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's,
and then they get divorced and keep making music and then become one of, at some point they were probably one of the biggest acts in rock and roll.
Oh yeah.
Music.
Oh yeah.
They were,
I wouldn't say too long after this. By the time, what is Elephant number 4?
Yeah. It's their fourth one. I think White Blood Cells was after this, which had, Fell in Love with the Girl.
Yeah.
Dirty Ground. We're going to be friends. And then obviously Elephant. Now for me, it was sort of an interesting, choice. I had heard Seven Nation Army. I was never huge into the White Stripes. Seven Nation Army, I knew that song from the radio. And then from the Michel Gondry DVD, we had seen a bunch of the music videos and everything. And I just remember one day going to Best Buy and just being like, you know what? I want to get a White Stripes album, but I'm going to get one that I just, it doesn't have any songs that I know on it or anything. And so I just kind of started flipping through, and this one just kind of stuck out to me. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna check it out. And I just remember when I got it and listening to it right away, something about it really caught me, because again, I only knew those songs like Fell in Love with the Girl, Seven Nation Army, Dead Leaves. This song or this album there's a lot of different songs on it, some more some slower songs, some lighter songs, some more acoustic based stuff.
some variation for some of their earlier.
Right. So I think I was sort of surprised that this is kind of what the album was. And yeah, man, there's some real standout tracks. I wouldn't say that. I think maybe is it Hello Operator was the only single. I could be wrong on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hello Operator. But at least that's what it says online. Hello Operator was the single. Doesn't have any big massive hits on it. I know.
I think if you were
Quentin,
gonna put a White Stripes, I guess somebody did this, so this might be a dumb point, but I'm sure there'd be a lot of good pulls on it if you were gonna off of this album.
And I think this is a good point, Grim, since you mentioned the greatest hits, to give a shout out to our friend Dylan, who, when we did that episode, we had some issues with the tracks that made the list, and we asked some of our viewers if they would go ahead and make their own greatest hits list. And Dylan, I think you were the only person to do it. It was an awesome list. We appreciate it, man, and we just wanted to give you a shout out.
I wish they would have pressed your list, because it did seem like a really good one, probably better than the one that they came out with.
Absolutely, man. So definitely let us know, along with everybody else, on Tuesday, or maybe not Tuesday, whatever day this is going to come out, where you rank this album in their discography. We would like to know. All right. Moving on, Grim. So I just remember getting it, really enjoying it, and it was very different than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be more like rock, balls to the wall, because of all the White Stripes songs I had heard of pretty much prior to this. It's kind of what it was.
It's the most bluesy one. It's got two. It's covers.
Bluesy. It's got some poppy songs on it and everything. Yeah. It's got like this Western feel. We get some of that like saloon style sound and everything. So I really, really dig it, man.
With the use of a slightly detuned living room style piano.
Exactly.
So one thing I wanted to talk about first is that they recorded it themselves in a living room using 8-track analog tape. So that's pretty awesome right there. And it very much to me is reminiscent of Elephant, where they like made a point to be like, this was done with nothing created before 1934 or whatever it was. I mean,
yeah, I think there was something I read about it too, or even, again, when they mastered it or pressed it or something, they still like tried to do they tried to do as much as they could until probably it got to the actual like being put on a CD as analog as possible with everything.
Yeah.
And I will say it gives it some character too. There's some tracks where you can hear some like serious like tape hiss or something like that. Like, and I'm like, oh, but it's kind of cool. I like that. It definitely gives it more character,
authenticity.
Sure. Authenticity. Yeah. Very, very important thing for sure. Where would you rank this in your top list of White Stripes albums, my friend?
That's a top 5.
Top 5. What is it? Don't they have like 6 albums?
Oh, I thought they only had 5.
Well, they have. What they got their self-titled one. They got this one. They have White Blood Cells, Elephant, Get Behind Me, Satan, and then Icky Thump. I believe it's just those 6. So
yeah, definitely top 5. Definitely top 5. I would. I'm gonna say probably like 3 or 4.
Yeah. 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Yeah.
And let me make a correction. It's not Taylor. It's Dylan. Sorry, Dylan.
Dylan's version.
Dylan's version. Mr. Dylan, we thank you, my friend. We thank you.
Oh, see now if he had some where he wanted us to do something, we could do like they could do another version of Dylan and the Dead. Where is
Dylan and the Dead, dude?
Anyways.
Dylan and the Dead. Sorry, Dylan. My memory just isn't what it used to be.
Dude, tell me about it. There's a verbal crutch right there. So one thing that you hipped me to before I knew a whole lot really even about them was where sort of the stylistic aesthetic and the name came from. Because when you look at the cover, it very much has a very specific aesthetic about it.
Yeah, no, it certainly does. I mean, obviously it has the classic, red, black and white stripes sort of color scheme.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of like the sort of the bricks and blocks and everything that are around the imagery and whatnot. And that was literally the style, Grim.
Yeah, that was the style.
It was a style.
Yep.
Which was very influential for them.
Is that Norwegian or Dutch?
That's a good question. I want to say
Netherlands, so that's Dutch.
Yep, Netherlands. Yep. Yeah, I want to say it was Netherlands.
Because I was watching something the other day, and they were supposed to be in the Netherlands, and somebody had a painting in their house that was very much DeStijl-ish.
Ish. Yeah. Well, Graham, I think before we get into the tracks, I think that kind of wraps up what we wanted to sort of talk about. Unless you got one more thing, which it looks like you do.
Oh, but there is just one more thing. So it annoyed me that some jerk off Canadian radio host sued them because they used a 9-second clip of an interview that they did before Jumble Jumble. I find that like in such...
She wanted $70,000 and for him to take it like off the record shelves.
Oh, go fuck yourself. Like, I'm throwing it out there for that one.
Because the horse you rode in on.
Yeah, so what's her name? Dominique Payette, you can kiss our respective asses and those of the White Stripes as well. You don't deserve anything. But I'm sure you settled out of court.
But they did settle out of court.
Thank you, legal system, for that huge embarrassing failure. It'd be one thing if you actually use something that somebody did where they, like put talent into it and they created something. I'm sorry, a kid answering a question doesn't even warrant the $50 filing fee for that bullshit. So thanks for being a jackass.
Yeah, thanks for it.
Let's go to the tracks.
All right. So that's going to conclude the first part of our episode A. So stay tuned for another day or two, and we'll be getting into the tracks soon enough.
In episode B.